Just Greeks and Beats, Episode 8, Growing Up Greek. Na. Get a dicky with it. Yes. Yes, παιδιά. Welcome to another big episode of Just Greeks and Beats. I'm going to welcome all you Greeks and all you honorary Greeks and all my odd podcast followers. This is episode 8 of Just Greeks and Beats. What a milestone it is, because only 8 weeks ago, I had no idea how long I could make this series last. Yet, here I am, and with a few consistent episodes and some followers to make it even better. Παιδιά, as you can hear, I have a very big passion to present my pride-filled Just Greeks and Beats podcast to you every single week. And you know what? It just has so much real Greek facts, but a lot of cheeky fun to go with it. It really does make my Gefi flow. It's a bit like wrapping a combination gyros with chicken, pork, arni, a touch of lettuce, a pinch of onions, and a massive splash of that fine, creamy, garlic-filled tzatziki. Oh, hopa. The smells created in your mouth for the next 24 to 48 hours and those gacky fumes out of the other end, mate, they're well worth it. It is such a great feeling reading the reviews left on my Apple Podcasts, and even better, it's just a better feeling knowing that so many people are loving what they are hearing. I had a great review sent to me by a listener called Fotini, who said that many of my episodes, especially the one about Crete and the Kyklades, took her back to the time when she was a young girl and was playing prince and princesses on the ruins of Knossos Palace with a young, stunning Greek lad she met there. Long lost love, just like a Greek tragedy. Oh, Fotini. Yes, that's it. All right. For all those people listening on Apple Podcasts, please do leave me a review. And for all those others that aren't listening on Apple Podcasts or maybe Spotify or Anchor.fm, just send me a review or your feedback to admin@gefi.live. All right. Thus far, I have discussed a bit of culture, some tradition, language, a lot of history and travel, plus a bit about music. And guys, there is still so much to talk about. This episode really has no basis to it. It's just an episode full of fun and a few cheeky, naughty words. In Greek, we would normally say that this episode is just full of malakias. Yep. Please excuse me for my obscene language, but it is imperative that I discuss with you some of the words that will, without a doubt, face you when you're visiting the beautiful Elava. Malakias is one of those Greek words that has no direct translation, just like Gefi. It is used in so many forms of context in the Greek language, but mainly means crap or bullshit. For example, "Ti malakias les, re file?" What crap are you talking, mate? Άσε τις μαλακίες, ρε. Stop that crap. In actual fact, guys, it is true when they say the very first word you learn at Greek school is malaka. Malaka traditionally translates to wanker and is also the very first word a non-Greek learns after yasu. Hey, another thing is, malakias and malaka are actually words found in the Greek Orthodox Bible. So, if you don't believe me, go ask your local priest. I guarantee you will get a very, very truthful answer. All right, so back to the podcast now. Back on topic, which we actually have no topic for this episode. It's pretty much life in general as an Aussie-born kid growing up in Australia to fresh off the boat Greek parents. As a youngster, I would be dressed up in the most outrageous fashion, Guys, I would be in a sailor suit when visiting my yaya, all because it was bought by an auntie in Greece as a gift sent to me via a Greek neighbour of my cousin in the suburb next to me. Oh, the only great thing about friends and relatives travelling to Greece were two things. One, they were away and non-existent for me for 2 months and 3.5 weeks. If they stayed another 0.5 week, they would have been enrolled in the Greek army, according to ancient theories. And two, they would always bring back pasteli and Greek candy. Oh, yum, that ouzo candy. Oh, so good. Looking back on life as a kid, I remember thinking of being Greek. And I thought, was it socially normal or was it just plain weird? Every culture has their weird superstitions, but not as weird as the Greeks though. I know this all too well. When I was talking about sunburn one day to some friends, I told them, go put Greek yogurt on it. Put yogurt on that sunburn area. They looked at me like I was weird. For me, that's normal. Getting the Greek yogurt out of the fridge and spreading it all over my sunburn. My non-Greek friends weren't so keen on trying it though. How about the time when my friends started having kids and those kids were teething? In my pre-children days, or before I had kids, my advice would be to them to rub ouzo on their gums, just like our parents did as babies. Hey, before anyone asks, no, I have not used ouzo on my two boys when they were teething, but I drank a stackload of ouzo just to get through the night. Us Greeks culturally grow up to believe in many different things that others class as weird. For example, only a couple years ago I was DJing and emceeing at a half Greek, half Indian wedding. Yes, it was an absolute blast with the dance-offs between the Tsiftetelia and the Bollywood. Mate, Athena Singh was cranking out those Punjabi MC moves, all while still dancing elegantly like Elena Paparizou. Although it was a great night, the one thing that I remember the most was when one of the Indian relatives came up to me to ask for a request. And I asked him how he was enjoying the day and the night so far. He said to me, when walking down the aisle, the bride was very shocked to see all of the Greek side spitting at her. Mate, I cracked up with laughter so hard, I think I actually held down the filter button too long on my decks. It is a tradition though. When I say spitting, I do not mean aggressive spitting. Greeks spit on the bride lightly so she doesn't get the mati, the evil eye. I personally don't believe in the mati, as it's a superstition, but I know that in an Orthodox church, during a christening, the godparent would spit towards the outside of the church to signify denouncing Satan. Every other bit of spitting in a church is just plain weird. Superstitions are massive in a Greek's life, and this is why I question, are we normal, or do people look at us like we're crazy? For example, some Greek mothers made their kids made the kids wear two different socks all the time. No, it's not because they don't have pairs, it's because two odd socks will keep the evil eye away. Weird. Also, if you wear your underwear inside out, it will also keep the mati away. Mate, I honestly have no idea how that has absolutely anything to do with the mati. I mean, why the heck would the mati care what sovrako you're wearing, and let alone what kaltses you're wearing? Or, as my good Cypriot friends would say, glatses. You know, more like a glassimo. Hey, if I was to glassi my sovrako, would the mati care? Probably not. It'd probably run away. Hey, here's a question to you all. What do you consider family bonding time? Let me give you a minute to think about it. No, you know what? I've got no time to wait here. Family bonding traditionally means sitting around the dinner table, eating dinner with a knife, a fork, and a spoon, speaking very quietly and advising the kids on life. Definitely not in my house, and definitely not in the majority of Greek households. Not even the ones that I ever visited to eat dinner at. Bonding time in my house was similar to feeding time in the lion cage. No one talks calmly, no one whispers, and no one speaks softly. We like to talk very loud and think the louder we talk, the more clearer our message will be. Mate, in my household, imagine the decibel levels with my mother Gina and me. Ooh, then we would get angry because we think the other person is yelling at us when really they're only just speaking the same as us. Oh, it does get very confusing, and I'm convinced that my neighbours growing up thought that we were very abusive to each other, but deep down, we do really love each other. The conversations as a kid would always begin with, "What did you learn today?" The conversations as a kid would always end in, "Be careful what you do. I know everything." Mate, my mum believed that she should have been a spy because she always knew what we were doing and where we were going before we even knew what we were going to do. I once told her that she should stop watching her daily series of Kalimera Zoe and Lampsi and apply for the secret services because they would most probably hire her. Look, truth be told, I was always part of the blame when with the scenes in my family kitchen. Come on! I was a mid-teen boy that had a challenging life. You know, hormones kicked in, rude remarks, bad attitude. Mix all that in with very loud, very weird and very Greek family and you have a zougla, a jungle. I would always feel the need to bring up pointless stories like the history of Greece, only to start my dad on the history and the lecture that lasted longer than anything you would hear at the university. I would always, get up halfway through and he would always sit me back down and start reminding me of the time when he was a kid and he was out in the paddocks looking after the sheep and goats, and then he'd be walking 33 kilometers each way, each day to school with one shoe. I bet you've all heard that. Or maybe one shoe and one suitcase. Like most Greek teenagers in the 80s and the 90s, we never had a choice of what we wanted to eat. Mum would cook for us and we ate regardless whether we liked it or not. From moussaka to sikotakia, everything and anything I was forced to eat. Yes, some foods made me vomit, but others I still enjoy today. Have you ever tried magiritsa? Traditional magiritsa includes all the lamb offal available, but the head and the neck of the lamb, which provide most of the soup's flavours, and those parts, along with the intestines, the heart and the liver, are most commonly used today. In Greece, every part of an animal is consumed. Trust me, I am quite happy with just a souvlaki with the meat off the bone. How about angry parents and their weapons of choice? The issue of smacking your kids was never a topic in my house. Many Greeks of my generation would agree with me when I say that that was definitely a topic that we absolutely never discussed. The minute I did something wrong, I knew straight away my mum was heading towards the second drawer in the kitchen to get the koutala, which is Greek for wooden spoon. Before she even got the spoon out of the drawer, I felt a turtle head pop out of my golo, about to drop a caca in my padalonia. Mate, the chase around the house was always a laugh. A few times my mum slipped up on the plakakia and just made her even angrier. These days, there are so many anti-smacking groups that are against even slightly slapping the child's behind when doing something wrong. It causes psychological harm, they say. It teaches violent behaviour, they say. For me, not only did I get a smack on the bum, I got the wooden spoon, or even worse, I got the vedka from my dad, which was a dried up grapevine that when whipped on the skin stung so much that you would think you were about to break out in blood. In the Greek culture, if you don't get the wooden spoon growing up, there is something seriously wrong with you. There never was angelic children in the Greek family. Oh, geez. Seeing these campaigns made me realize how thankful I am to grow up as a Greek in the Greek culture where disciplinary action is mandatory. When I tell people my upbringing and the punishment I received every time I did something wrong, they ask me if it was rough growing up or if I'm psychologically okay. I can't help but laugh because not only did I end up okay, I ended up in a better position than those kids who were grounded or who were sent to their room. Growing up with Greek culture, there are rules that parents set that must be followed. It seems like when a woman has to give birth in the hospital, if they see her last name is more than 9 letters long, they give her a manual, how to raise your kids, bruises and all. But, different story when the lady that's giving birth has a surname probably as long as the alphabet itself. I look at other kids that I grew up with and seen the roads they have taken and where they ended up, and then I compare my journey to my upbringing. I can honestly say that I am thankful for the strict upbringing I had, the bruises I received and the tears I shed. If I wasn't brought up like that, I would have steered off the railways. Coming from a Greek family, we know that definitely cannot happen. I see parents now attempting to tame their children by bribing them. Be quiet, I'll give you my iPad, I'll give you my iPhone, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. You can watch YouTube, you can do this. That's not disciplining your kids. That's acknowledging bad behavior and attempting to avoid it. Now, I'm not saying I was a perfect Greek boy or son either. I'm saying that there is a fine line between child abuse and disciplining kids. Constant physical abuse, yes, will affect the child in the long run, though a smack as a disciplinary action definitely won't. It's the Greek culture. It's the way we have been taught and how we will raise our kids regardless of anyone's opinion if we ended up okay. And you know what? So will our kids. Having said this though, I would never smack my own children. Call it generational change, but I cringe at the thought of breaking my wife's utensils on my kids. I mean, ρε παιδιά, what's she going to use next time she wants to make fasolada? Honestly. Actually, seeing as this is a free flow episode full of great laughs and malakias, let's have a funny talk about how much my life resembles to a funny American film. Everyone in Australia has probably by now seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding. If you haven't, it is imperative to do so. When I did, I laughed and I just absolutely cried of tears. It seemed so exaggerated. Then halfway through, I made a realization. That actually is me growing up. That's my family growing up. Oh, I went to church every Sunday. I had to speak Greek and there was no ifs or buts. And I had to learn the history of Greece because they are my roots. Historia tis patridas mas. It was never ending. I wished my family were more modernized, and I even wished my mum would not shake the tablecloth in the backyard while yelling at me and talking to Kyria Maria over the fence just to get all the breadcrumbs off. I learned I can't pick and choose my family. I was christened Chrysovalandis. In school, I went by Chris, Valandi, Albandi, Hot Dog Valandi, Levendi. As I went to an all-Greek school, we just had a laugh because we're wogs, right? We could all be males and not be offended. But during my days in competitive swimming that my father forced me to partake in, day out, I was severely bullied as the fat Greek kid. Seeing I was the only Greek child in that whole club, I was not fat growing up. I was built and I was pretty good at what I competed in. But they were times I seriously tried to forget my culture until I realized my culture was who I am. So I quit swimming instead. Watching the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I started to see so many resemblances. For example, I have 7 Dimitris or Dimitras in my family, including my dad, my sister, and my son. See, the Greeks have this custom to name children after grandparents, not because it makes it easier at Christmas and Easter to bulk buy their cards with the 3 most common names on them, and of course to save money. I had mentioned in my very first episode that my name is Chrysovalandis and was not passed on by my grandfather Konstantinos. I am the only male in my line or in my generation who was named after a saintly monastery instead. My parents had a few difficulties having children until prior to me, until being approached by a very beautiful older lady that I cherished so much growing up. She told my mum to write to the monastery, to the holy monastery of Saint Irene Chrysovalandou, which she did. And they sent her back a little vial of oil together with a prayer to read every night. She anointed herself, and after Zina Zimbozam and 9 months of waiting, there I was, a brand new little Angelopoulos. My mother has always been very protective of her firstborn and cherished golden child. Yes, that's me, guys. Maybe it was because of what she went through to have me, but I tell you, she was a hard ass. I remember when I had turned 18 and I was about to go have my first Saturday night out with the boys. Aku do Chrysovalandi, you make sure you are back at 12 a.m. on the dot, she would say to me. Yeah, no problems, Mum. Yeah, no worries. Don't stay up. Bigine krevati. All good, no worries. It was 11:45 p.m. and I said to the lads that it was time to head home. Mate, thank goodness the city was only 10 minutes from where I lived. I rocked up at home at 12:05. The house was dark and all locked up. I entered the house through the back door to through the laundry, and I stepped foot into the kitchen. Then a small lamp lights up, and there was a face staring at me, like something out of the silence of the Suvla. It was my mum with an angry look on her face, and she proceeded to say, "Πού ήσουν reality? Σου είπα 12 να είσαι σπίτι. Tsaki σου κρεβάτι τώρα. Where have you been? I told you to be home at 12. Now hurry up and get to bed." Oh, life growing up Greek in Australia was, is, and will always be a blast. I mean, living in Australia, us Greeks have the privilege of receiving chocolate Easter eggs a month after Catholic Easter, when they are heavily discounted and stale. You know, they've gone white. Our Aussie Sunday family roast is actually a whole lamb on the spit. Us Australian Greeks don't eat Tim Tams. We have Yaya's kulurakia. And our Yaya would never understand the meaning of Yaya, I am full, whether she spoke Greek or English. Papu would spend half the day watering the concrete instead of the tomates. And then the only volume that we know is loud. 4 out of 5 times, Repedia, an Aussie neighbour would knock on the front door to check if everything was okay when we were just having a friendly conversation with relatives in Greece on the phone. And lastly, every Greek home had a good lounge and a bad lounge. The good lounge would be in another room covered in plastic and was never allowed to be used. Oh gosh, yes, there we have it. I hope you all had a great laugh with my episode about Malakias. Honestly, it was a big load of Malakias. Next episode will be phenomenal, as I'm going to be interviewing one of Adelaide's most famous Greeks, Nick Mavrangelos, the head chef and part owner of the Adelaide Pavilion. I am so excited for this. Don't forget that you can also tune into my weekly radio show where I get to play all the new and loved and classic Greek beats over 2 hours of live stream fun every Monday night from 8 till 10 p.m. Adelaide time via facebook.com/Gephi Live Radio. This is Valandi, and I will keep your Gephi streaming.